Carl and Damon here from Games, Brains, and Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for short. And it's Tomb Raider, The Legend of Lara Croft, our review and talk through. We're up to the final episode, episode 8, A Journey of 1,000 Miles, directed by Giselle Farragon R and written by Tasha Hyol. So, we're here, the end episode of what has been a good show. Not a great show, a good show.
Yeah.
And that's me being kind, I think. Jonah and Laura are making their way to Coulon Mountain en route to Noir, going over the mythological test that they will have to pass to reach it. A penitent man kneels. This is what this is. And don't get me wrong, it should be.
Yeah.
It should be, because Lara Croft and Indiana Jones, let's be honest, man, there's all the same shit.
Yeah, exactly. There's no difference.
Of course, mythology has plenty of basis in reality, and this is what I love. So they're reading out mythology about a lake that, like, basically, like, its tail is that it swallows you up and no one can swim it and all that. And they realize, oh, what that mythological story is describing is a fucking blue hole.
Mm.
Brilliant, right? Now,
Yep,
blue
yep.
holes, the phenomenon that is a blue hole is terrifying. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I've never seen one in real life, but you see pictures of them and you know what it
Yeah.
means. And like, you basically go in and woof, it's like a fucking underwater tornado.
Sure, it's a blue hole and not a white hole.
That's a mental joke for people, yes. It's the swelly thing out there. Of course, Lara dives into the blue hole, is able to survive it, and arrives in an underwater cavern. Jonah joins us shortly afterwards, and together they stare in amazement at what is basically a living, breathing world. All right, it's been fantastic up to this point, and we've seen a lot of weird stuff like this. This one, I struggled to allow my. I struggled to buy, and part
Mm.
of the reason why I struggled to buy is because it includes creatures that are long extinct, mythological monsters. It's a land of the gods, um, including like dinosaurs. Now, I get it, right? Like Tomb Raider, the first Tomb Raider had a dinosaur in it, so I've got to take my head for a shit to a degree. Like simply,
Yeah.
like you fight a T-Rex and stuff in the original Tomb Raider. We'll get to that in this episode. But I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe it's because the show tries so hard to base elements in reality that when you get like hit with this, like it's all really real stuff and all that, and then it's like, oh yeah, we're also going to explain this mythological story about a blue hole, but then we're going to follow that up by it being a portal to the land of the gods where dinosaurs still roam, and I'm like they don't gel together. It doesn't fit.
Yeah. I,
I found it difficult to accept.
yeah. I mean, I know Tomb Raider is all about the sci-fi and mythological, but this is too much for me. Way
Yeah,
too much.
what's weird as well, because we also kind of, the whole show falls apart here as it sort of turns into a fucking video game puzzle section. And
Yeah.
I'm baffled about the writing behind this because effectively, like, they go into a cave and then in a glorious temple with traps where Lara becomes unsure how to proceed. They don't have time for this, but using a poem, Lara is able to guide Jonah across a dodgy bridge. It's a puzzle section.
Yeah.
Even then, it's very close, and Jonah just about makes it across the bridge with his life intact. Lara is able to reunite with Jonah as he pulls a switch and turns off the traps while Zip and Abby discover that the sky is burning. So we keep cutting back to sort of like real life where Zip and Abby are together as the world continues to crumble around.
Yeah.
Lara and Jonah continue their journey with some more puzzle solving based around elements. Um, and like it all, like we do this several times, and it takes up like a good 7 or 8 minutes of just puzzle solving.
That's what
We're in
I'm
the
saying.
final episode. What the fuck?
That's why I think they messed up a little bit. Although the whole Charles thing wasn't great, I still think it should have been extended to a bit of this episode. So
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think perhaps it would have been better to have like Lara and Charles racing each other here, maybe to do something with the stones.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I didn't really like this, but as Lara's trying to be quick about it, this is where her and Jonah have to be separated. As he has to basically, the door won't stay open. It's one of those puzzles where you have to separate Damon.
oh yeah,
So he has to stay and hold the door, right? And she has to go through it. But also, a bear has arrived, and Jonah can't deal with the bear and hold the door if Laura's messing around. So she goes through the door while Jonah stays to deal with the bear. I don't know if this is a video game reference because of the bear in Tomb Raider, but it all felt really random. It really did.
yeah. It's like they throughout the previous episode they barely had any. apart from little small minor video game references, but now like the last episode, let's just throw everything in there so we can try and get a season 2 or something like that. I don't know.
So I disagree with you. There have been lots of Tomb Raider references, just Tomb Raiders that you don't know, you big melt.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
This one has gone out of its way to try and do references from the more iconic Tomb Raider entries.
Mm.
So Lara ends up in another dimension and enters a floating temple. Look, it does look wonderful. It does look wonderful. And once inside, Lara sets about putting the stones back in their rightful place, which brings about the spirit god Noir, who combines all the stones together and rebalances the world. I do appreciate there wasn't like a big, like, it wasn't like, hey, you brought the stones back. But first, you must defeat me. You know what I mean? Like, it's just,
Yeah.
no, stones are back. Cheers, bro.
Yeah.
And the
Cheers.
temple begins to crumble. Well, that's what made me laugh as well. It's like, cheers, bro. And then drops Laura. Obviously, she's fine. She wakes back up in a strange land. Jonah is there and alive, having defeated the bear. They reunite, knowing the world has been saved. And in what I think now is probably the dumbest part of this show, because they're not out of the woods yet. It's a T-Rex. And I was like, oh my God, this feels so forced.
Mm-hmm.
I got a little, you know when you get like embarrassed, secondhand embarrassment.
Yeah.
That's what I got here. I got a little bit of secondhand embarrassment for the show writers. I was like, you really wanted to find a way to put a T-Rex in this, and you thought, well, let's just put it in here. It'll be people who played the first game will go, I recognize the T-Rex. And I was just like, oh, that's really awkward. Oh, that's really awkward. It looks crap as well.
Yeah.
They fight it, defeat it, and barely escape. Back to the good stuff at least, because sometime later, Lara's returned home is donating her father's treasures to a museum. And the plan is basically she's going to stay in a mansion, but she's removing her family memories out of it. It's going to be her. She's putting her treasures in there, her adventures, her story, creating her own memories. Croft Manor as a Lara Croft Manor. Boom. Later again, Camilla is there, and her and Lara are in nice dresses as Jonah and Abby are finally getting married at a happy event. However, during the wedding party, Lara gets a phone call. It's Sam, but no one is on the other end of the line, and it hangs up. Makes her suspicious. She's worried, so she decides to go and check on Sam, apologizing to Jonah and Abby, but they're kind of like, hey, it's cool. It's cool. Go be Lara Croft, you know? So she goes to Sam's apartment and finds it broken into, but also deserted. It also looks like no one's been there for a little while, and whatever happened there involved a struggle. It's all very mysterious. Bloody mysterious, you might say.
Yeah.
Lara then notices that Sam was investigating a black market trade and realizes that she might be in trouble, finding a loose shoe and a fire escape. So obviously, looking at the map and who she was tracking, you can tell that Lara is planning to go find her. And I guess that's what we'll be dealing with in season 2. And that wraps up season 1 of Tomb Raider, The Legend of Lara Croft. As I said at the start, a good show. A good show with great moments, but also with low moments as well. I didn't expect, I'm going to do the best comparison I can to the other show that's on Netflix about this. I did not expect it to be Castlevania level of quality. I didn't. It's unfair to put that on anyone.
Yeah.
I thought we might get something more on Nocturne's quality, because Nocturne's great, but even Nocturne isn't as good as the Castlevania show.
Yeah. Yes.
But I think this is worse than Nocturne. I think they're not quite sure what they're doing with Tomb Raider, with Lara Croft. Yeah. Oh, sorry, the show. They know what they're doing with the character, but the show. And I feel like what they've gone for is to be super adventurous, but sometimes too much, but also over the top mythological, sometimes to the detriment of the show as well, while also telling a story about feelings. All of it meshes just about all right together, but it falls apart in certain places, and nowhere is there better shown than the villain. And not just Charles, but the light as well. Now, I'm going to presume the light are going to be like a bigger sort of overarching figure in series to come, provided this gets more series long term. But it did feel like, again, they were just sort of jammed in here as an excuse for Charles to exist.
I personally think that I don't think we're going to get a second season.
It's already been confirmed. Second season is going to happen.
Well, I'm going to do you until I actually see it come out. I just think that a lot of people are going to be either. I mean, minus um, the cancel culture people with the old potential uh, relationship between Lara and obviously the other girl, minus those people. But I just think that the last few episodes were very disappointing, and a lot of people are not going to enjoy it.
I think it goes downhill. I think you're absolutely right. I think it goes downhill. I think it goes downhill. So you're saying the cancel culture people. I think what you mean is the kind of people who get upset about representation, potential
Yeah.
representation in shows. I know what you mean. I think, yeah, it's the wrong words you're using there. What we mean by that, I think let's just explain briefly, just justify what I think we both mean here. I think, and you can correct me if I'm speaking for you, but correct me if I'm wrong, by all means.
Yeah.
I think what we're trying to say to you is, look, if it bothers you, take your head for a shit, because it shouldn't matter either way. However they choose to write Lara Croft is their choice. You
Mhm.
then have the choice to then stop watching because, oh my God, a gay Lara Croft. If that bothers you that much, do not watch this show then. But you are also potentially reading too much into it, I think. Until they explicitly do that and say that and explore that, I think chill the fuck out. But also, what you said several times about the episode review doesn't matter. And I think that's the most important thing of what we're saying here. It doesn't matter. Does it
Yep.
change in any way? Does the sexual orientation of Lara Croft, Damon, change your view in the show in any way, shape, or form?
Nope, because at the end of the day, it's an animation. She's not a real person. It's not a real. It's a TV show, and
It's
as I said,
written.
it makes no difference at all of Laura's story, really.
In fact, you know what? And Laura ended up, her and Camilla ended up getting down with it, and we got like an X-rated scene. Hell, might have made that episode a little bit better, or maybe it
Exactly.
wouldn't
Yeah.
have. Who knows? Do you see what I mean? Like, but it makes no difference to us. That's what we're trying to say with those words.
I mean,
What we go on.
as I said, if we had no films, no nothing, and just games, and this was the first thing that ever came out, you wouldn't even known that Lara was potentially gay or bisexual or anything because that never gets addressed in games. Very, very, very rare.
Well, all it is that she's always been even in the game, she's always been very flirtatious with both
Yeah,
sexes. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
She's
exactly.
had like it's always been explored. She's just the character has always been, at least from the 90s and the games that followed, sexualized. Come on, people. She was on the front cover of like FHM, which was a lads magazine back in the day. This character has always been sexualized. Let's not pretend that this show is going to be above it. Just if it chooses to do it in a different way, who cares? We just
Yeah,
don't see the problem with that. We generally don't think you should. If you're bothered by it, we basically what we're saying is grow up. Really
yeah,
do simply grow up. Judge the show on its merit, on its writing, overall, of its quality storytelling, of its visuals, of its characters, and all of that. That is what we want to judge on. And on that front, this is why in my written review, I gave it 6 out of 10. And I stand by that score. I gave it 6 out of 10 because ultimately it's got two major problems, and it's both are difficult for me to get past. One is the downward spiral of the villain character and how poorly Charles ends up being as a character for me. The second is how far I think they push the reality, the realness, and the fantastical. And they stop, weirdly, they don't balance. Weirdly, it's balance failure. Like, they start off quite balanced where the mythological always has a bit of realism in it to at the end, we're in the land of the gods. There's dinosaurs. Do you know what I mean? Like, and nobody, like, I know they've seen a lot, but Jonah and Lara are just like, hey, this is not like, do you know what I mean? Like, they
yeah,
sort of seem underwhelmed by it.
yeah.
You know? Oh, here's a T-Rex. No, here's a fucking T-Rex. Here's a T-Rex. Better get our guns. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's all a bit, I find that hard to stomach. I hope they don't. I hope they find a better way to write that in season 2.
Yeah. I mean, I like the whole the mythology and like the history stuff like that, but there's too much of it. You know, it's like calm down a little bit. I don't
Which
go
stop
too.
there. Which is too much? You said both. It can't be. Do you mean the mythological side of things or the historical side?
I love history, so I love all the history stuff.
You're
So
happy with the history stuff. It's the
yeah, yeah,
mythological side. Yeah.
yeah,
I think you're right there. I think they do really a cool job of making you want to, as we said before, explore. Oh, what's this battle one about? What's this event? Oh, this event was real. Oh, read up about the Templars. What do you mean they got betrayed? What betrayal? Oh, the church betrayed. Sent me all this cool shit, you
Yeah.
know? But then it's like, oh, so here's the land of the gods and fox gods. And yes, that's based in Chinese mythology and stuff like that. But like, that was all fine at the start. And then at the end, we're visiting, like I said, we're visiting the land of the gods and there's dinosaurs. And it's all a bit harder to take seriously.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that for this series, I mean, for me, if we were doing these videos, I would probably never watch this series. That's
Really?
that's the truth of the matter is I probably wouldn't have.
Mm.
I mean, maybe I would have if I had have played the games, and at some point I will play the games. Hopefully before, if there is a season 2. But I mean, the first 2 episodes of the show were confusing as hell to me. Obviously, further down the line was I actually quite enjoyed it. But I think for the newer generation, they've got no interest in this TV series. I don't think.
I do think if you have to be a fan of Tomb Raider to want to watch this show, I think you do have to be. I'm glad, and I do agree with what you're saying there, that where those first 2 episodes were very confusing for you, and I can understand for people who had never played the reboot trilogy, eventually this finds its own feet and it does become its own story. You know, it's a lot easier to follow, which is good. And I suspect going forward it'll be better because I can't really see them making too many references. I think it'll be more references to stuff ahead rather than afterwards. Now, before we wrap this up, I just want to say to you, Lise, you're wrong. When Netflix confirms a season is going to happen, it always happens. They cancel after, not before. This season 2 will happen because they've confirmed it will, which means it's already being made as we bleed and speak. What Netflix cancel after a show. What happens with Netflix is the show comes out, Amazon's the same, the show comes out, and a few weeks later, they announce that it's been cancelled because it didn't do good or whatever. But when they announce that season 2 is confirmed, and it is confirmed by the company, it will happen. I know you can say believe it until you see it, but here, the fact that they've confirmed it means you will see it. And do you know how you know there's proof? Because in January 2025, we are getting the 2nd season of Castlevania Nocturne. And they confirmed that back in the day. And then we thought, oh, this is never going to happen because it didn't come out at the same point Nocturne did the previous year. Turns out it's coming.
Yes.
Well,
if season 2 does come out, we're probably talking 2026, probably, I would reckon, or towards the end of 2025.
Yeah, I think more likely the end of next year or early 2026. I think. I think likely, yeah, because as well, like you probably wouldn't want to do it. I mean, I don't know. It's hard. I don't know the timelines that well. I really don't. It's hard to freaking know. We may not see it for 2 or 3 years. It's not live action, so it's not like you need to get. But you still need the voice actors to be available, and there's a lot like that. You know, it's difficult to know. But I will look forward to it. I won't. Right. I mean, I'll sum it this way. I'm really looking forward to Nocturne season 2.
Yeah.
Can't wait to watch that. Really looking forward to seeing the continuation of that story. I am mildly interested in seeing what happens with Tomb Raider. Put it this way, if we didn't get another one, I wouldn't be too upset. I wouldn't be like, oh no, oh no. I'd be like, oh, well, that was fine. We got 1 season and it was good. So I mean, like, it's that kind of thing. And I think in a couple of weeks' time, particularly when Nocturne comes around, well, I think I'll kind of forget Tomb Raider exists until I'm reminded of it, you know?
Yeah.
It's a shame it wasn't more than we had hoped for. But it also didn't disappoint either, I think. That is Tomb Raider: The Legend of Lara Croft, specifically Episode 8, A Journey of 1,000 Miles. Have you got any thoughts on this episode and the show overall? You know what to do. Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It is gratefully appreciated. You can find us over at gbhbl.com, our full website, where reviews, news, and so much more goes up daily. We're also on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at gbhbl. Just search for gbhbl and you will find us out there. We also have merchandise on sale. You can access the shop via the website.